Forensics, well, it's the application of science to law, and what our job is to speak for the victims.
Forensics Division, commonly referred to as the Crime Lab, is an accredited laboratory. We are committed to providing quality and professional forensic services to our requesters in a timely and proficient manner. The Crime Lab is staffed by approximately 40 personnel, including forensic scientists, police officers, technicians, and support staff. Our staff provide forensic services in the following lab sections: digital multimedia, which is computer forensics and video forensics; field operations, which is crime scenes and latent prints; firearms and tool marks; forensic garage; AFIS, which stands for Automated Fingerprint Identification System; and administrative.
We had a case where we were called to a homicide. A victim was found in her home, deceased. We responded out there to document through video, sketch, and photographs, which is our typical procedure. We also then did numerous areas for processing for latent fingerprints. What we got here is a good example of something we would process at a scene or within the lab. Simply what we're going to do is use a powder to apply to it that will allow us then to add contrast and make the latent prints visible. So from here then we would determine what would be sufficient to take back for further analysis. We have to preserve the print somehow with just simple tape lifts. Tack down what we want, slowly remove. Then that evidence is preserved and allows us to do further analysis on those latent prints. Then we can enter it into Mathen. Basically, it's a repository for fingerprint cards from everybody that's been arrested in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota. So you have the latent print over here, and what we do is we encode it with information. We then can send that off. Ultimately, what comes back is that we get a list of possible respondents and try to effect an ID if it's there. So now you have to do the further work and do the actual comparison and determine whether or not it is an identification or it's not.
There was a group of individuals going around creating a bunch of heinous crimes in Minneapolis, including a couple of homicides. There are some discharge cartridge casings. And discharge cartridge casings are the result of a semi-automatic firearm. In front of me, this is just one example of a firearm. Discharge cartridge casings like these will be left at a crime scene. The crime scene investigators will go out and they'll collect these and put them into evidence where we will do comparisons. They can recover fire bullets. These are all fired bullets. And then if we do get a firearm, we're able to obtain known test fire exemplars from it, bullets and cartridge casings, which then we can actually compare these and these to the gun to say, in fact, they were fired by that firearm. We use a comparison microscope, and it allows us to see evidence simultaneously side by side.
So after the gun has been superglued, it's then dye stained, and then it's brought over and viewed under a laser where the fingerprints will fluoresce. And once we can visualize the fingerprints, then they're captured through photography as a permanent record.
In this Duluth case, the suspect, he was stalking around at night looking in people's windows trying to film underage kids as young as 12. And when they found the phone, they figured it was his phone, but they couldn't access it at all. These tools right here are used to actually take apart the phone and pull the memory chip off of the board. So after the phone was disassembled and we removed the chip, one of our officers was able to pull all the data off using this converter. This is inserted into a computer, and once we take that driver, pull that information off the phone, we run a variety of tools over it to try to parse out any of the data that might be stored on that device. When we looked through that data, we did find a multitude of videos. We had his voice while the videos were being played. He's now serving 10 years in federal prison.
We're out there to do our job. We care about physical evidence. That's all we care about. So when that physical evidence leads to a suspect, that's the reward, and that's important to know, and people know clearly those steps and how we get there.
Without being able to apply what we do to crime scenes, be it a burglary to violent crimes, victims wouldn't have a voice. So by what we do, we give voices to the victims and ultimately justice.
In the Crime Lab unit, we strive to perform forensic services with the utmost integrity in the pursuit of unbiased truth. Our job is to process evidence and report the results. Investigators then utilize that information when investigating crimes. The work we do plays a critical role in helping solve crimes.